Hello, and welcome to Hanging Out on Monday night with our crew here. We've got several folks from the Midwest and one guy from the West Coast.
Yes.
Yes. And I thought it would be fun tonight to do a show talking about how what we do differs from maybe what you do, as far as the types of events that we do and the lengths of the events. If we've learned one thing in this room, Jay,
Yes.
we've learned that not everybody does events in the same time frame,
No.
and not everybody has the same length of the time wise. It's very different.
Absolutely. Some
Or-
areas are much longer because the people are much slower.
Yeah,
That's
in the
what I've
Midwest,
heard.
for instance. Yeah,
Slower needs to catch up.
I'm going to go first and just talk about what it's like where I work. And I think Buddy and Damon may be very similar, but I know that Damon and Matt are doing different types of events. I'll just say that most of the events that I do are weddings, and we're looking at, like, for reception only, it's typically a 6-hour time frame. It's 6 to midnight, and the way it usually works is it kicks off with a grand entrance at 6 o'clock, and then they'll have dinner until 7:30 or 8. The rest of the evening is dedicated to dancing. That's reception only. If it's a ceremony as well, you're starting as early as 2-3 o'clock, and the times shift a little bit, but you're still typically going to around midnight, so it's a very long day. But that's what it's like for me most of the time for most of the events that I do. So you're looking at a 6-hour, I guess, time slot from 6 p.m. to midnight. How about you, buddy? What's it like a whole, 80 miles away from me? Down in Illinois.
It's a lot of like the same. I know we've talked about this before. A lot of times I have a wedding coming up on the 8th of June, and I'm looking at starting to be there on site at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It ends at 11 o'clock at night, and that means I'm walking out. Tracy and myself are walking out probably about 11:30, 11:45, loading up the van and get off the property a little before midnight. The nice thing is that it's not too far away from home. It's a 20-minute ride, so I'm not going to complain too much.
Sure.
But yeah, it seems like a lot of weddings, people want a lot of time, especially here in the Midwest. 6-7 hours. That's normal rental on a facility here in Chicago. They'll rent a place out 1 hour for ceremony and then 6 hours for reception. Now, some places will just do 6 hours total,
Right.
which I'm like, okay, fine, great, 1 hour difference.
Yeah.
But I've run into places that will do a ceremony at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon and they start doing cocktail at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
Because they have a break between the two,
Right.
and they're like, it's basically an 8-hour, 9-hour wedding, and they have a little cocktail or a little bar area outside. So every place is unique, every place is different, but again, 12-hour day for a wedding for me. It's
with setup and breakdown, which is what Eric brought up in the chat. You got to count for that too. So it's a very long day. You're looking at a solid 12-hour day when you're doing something with the reception as well.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing. A lot of people forget. They look at just the time of playing music, and they don't forget about setting beforehand. How many steps you have to do? Like I'm sure you run into it, and other people run into it. It's multiple setups to have ceremony here, and then cocktail over here, and then dinner maybe in a third area, and then the wedding dancing area is in a fourth area. I have a few venues like that, four separate setups in the same venue. It could be a wedding outside and 3 inside, rooms that they do that, and that's part of the deal.
So I know that Jay is waiting for someone to say road dog so he can have a drink. But I have a proposal. Next time we do this, there should be another trigger word that we should be using. Anytime Buddy mentions his wife, Tracy, drink.
That's already a drinking game.
So it's road dog and my wife, Tracy. Those are the two.
You have to do 2 shots when he
magic
says
words.
either love of my life or lovely. If the word love gets
it's
involved,
usually
that's
my
a double
wife,
shot.
my
Is
lovely
my
wife,
lovely
Tracy.
wife.
See, there it is. That's a
And
double shot.
Tracy should be fine. My
Oh yeah,
wife
no,
or
Tracy's
Tracy.
a drink. That's already established. Yeah, no, we've already got that. Yeah.
Well, you know what? Not to sound bad. She is the other half of my business. She is the T in TBM. She's literally the first letter in my business, and she's with me at every single wedding. So it's one of the things that it's the two of us walking out. And just like if I had employees, like this wedding come up, we do have employees because multiple setups, but it's one of the things
I
with
can
my
just always count
employees.
on you saying Tracy. That's all. I was saying.
Yeah. Again, I got
It's a
to.
given.
She's part of it. She may not be here physically, but she's
Right.
always here.
Well, I don't buy that either. I think somewhere off camera,
behind you with
she's there with a 30-30. That's what I'm thinking.
your back.
Yeah. No. Oh yeah, 100%. You're like those TikToks where the guy's leaving with the motorcycle helmet, and the wife's like, "Hey, where you going?" And he's like, "I was going to go for a ride." She's like, "I thought you could stay in and watch a film." He's like, "A movie? Yeah, I'd much rather do that." And you hear her voice, and then you see her hand lift up. She's like, "Yeah, take a seat over here," and it's a Glock pointing at the couch, and I'm like, "There you go."
I'll get to you last because I know that your time frames are a lot more interesting than ours are going to be. Probably
it's different, and I'm waiting to hear COVID get mentioned. But so far, at least two of you, COVID didn't change the time frames?
No, it did not. Damon, I was going to ask about the types of events that you do and what are you looking at for time frames?
Well, I'm still roughly 65 to 70% in bars still. And then my 30% is weddings and parties and stuff like that.
How about your weddings? When you're doing a wedding in the Detroit area, what's it like? I mean, if it's just a reception, not a ceremony, what time are you getting there? What time are you getting out of there?
You're still looking at almost about 5 to 6 hours, just the reception alone.
What's your starting time typically?
It depends on, I've done receptions early as 4 o'clock and, been out of there by 10 and then, the normal 6 o'clock, till midnight.
So you're looking at 6 hour blocks.
Yeah, 6 hour
blocks. Just like we are. It just shifts a little bit. I get variations of that too. I've gotten 5 to 11 before.
Yeah.
Usually 6 to midnight is like typical. That's usually what I'm getting.
For the most part, yes. Like I got 3 weddings coming up in June and they're all, 6 to midnight. So
now Damon's in Detroit, Buddy's in Chicago, I'm in Milwaukee, and Matt is in Minneapolis, St. Paul. So the Twin Cities, we're all Midwesterners.
Mm-hmm.
Matt, you're doing mostly karaoke stuff.
Yep.
What's your time frame on that when you're doing a karaoke bar?
Most of my shows are from like 8 to midnight. I have one that goes from 8:30 until 1 or 2. It depends on, that's my Saturday gig. Depends on how busy or slow we are. If we're slow, then we quit at 1. And if it's busy, then we go till 2. But generally, the bulk of my shows, I'm on the north end of the cities. And the bulk of my shows are way down on the south end of the cities.
Okay.
So we're talking about maybe 50 minutes to an hour drive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm burning like a quarter tank of gas round trip.
Sure.
For pretty much every gig, But so say like a typical Saturday when I do my Saturday gig down in Farmington, there start at 8:30. I try to get there by about 7:30 if I can.
Okay.
So I have to leave by about 6:30. And then if I go till 2, I'm not getting packed up and out of there till probably close to 3. And then I get home about 4 o'clock in the morning.
Right. Very long day again. Almost a 12-hour day for you.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's just a bar gig. And you're still doing 12-hour day.
Right.
So I love Jay for last because I think Jay has a really, I think it's an interesting situation when it comes to his wedding time frames. It's very normal for him because of where he lives geographically and the types of events that he's catering to, which have been a lot of destination weddings because he lives in California wine country. So tell us about your time frame for a typical wedding reception.
So I was thinking about this when the topic came up, and it reminded me. So a quick backstory: back in 2000, I became resident at a hotel that was in the predominantly gay area of San Diego, and it was called Park Manor. And they were recommending me for all their weddings.
Mm-hmm.
And their weddings would end at 11. And their ceremonies would traditionally start at 4.
Okay.
And do a 4:30 to 5:30 cocktail, and then about 5:30 to 11 reception. I would work other hotels, and the famous line was, "We have the room till 1." Because it would be like a ballroom that wasn't near hotel rooms.
Okay.
Because
Yeah,
out
noise.
here, the majority of ballrooms are somehow near a hotel room, meaning the rooms are above or
Sure.
below the room.
Sure.
So you can't go till midnight in most places.
Right.
11 is a real capper. So the majority of my career until COVID, or I take that back, till probably the mid 2000 teens, I was doing, 7 hours was a long event to include ceremony. Like a 4 to 11 was a ceremony and reception.
Can you break that down for us? As far as, how long everything lasted and what was happening within those times?
So if it was all in the same venue, which would traditionally mean like a hotel near the beach, you'd have a beach ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, a lot of those venues started to get wise to it. So they would get microphones because they would want to control the volume, and I would only provide sound. So I would do 3:30 to 4 sound, 4 to 4:05 processionals, and then the recessional at like 4:20ish. Then they would do cocktail hour outside where either I would do sound or somebody else.
Okay.
Then they would come up to the room 5:30, and we would do grand entrance probably 5:45. Dinner would be roughly 6. So the receptions would be 5 to 6 hours. Traditionally 5. So let's say 6 to 11 was the reception. 4 to 6 was ceremony and cocktail.
What were you ending up for dance time? In that
Dance
situation?
time I'm just going to be honest with it. It's not something I'm certainly ashamed of or anything else. But, I would talk to brides who would say, yeah, we've got a 6 to 11 wedding reception. And the DJ said, he'd give us 4 hours of dancing. I'm like, you're lucky to get 2.5. What do you mean? I'm like, well, 4 to 5 is cocktail.
Right.
5 to 6 is cocktail. 6 to 7:30 is dinner. 7:30 to 8 is special dances, toasts, whatever. That's 3 hours, but you still want to stop for this and this and this. And we do a lot of honeymoon dances out here, which is the money dance. Well, that can go for 15 or 20 minutes. So when you break it all down, an average wedding for me would be anywhere between 2 to 3 hours of dance.
Okay.
Then when COVID, and that's why I brought up COVID earlier, COVID changed a lot of things. One, the county that I am in is called Riverside County. The county next to me is San Diego County. They both have a hard 10 o'clock noise ordinance.
You're at the bottom of Riverside County, too.
Oh, I'm way at the bottom of it.
County, aren't you?
Yeah, no, I'm way at the bottom of it.
So how far is San Diego County away from you?
For me to drive the 15 south, I'm in San Diego County in probably 7 miles.
Okay, so you're right there on the border.
I'm right there. Yeah, I'm right on the border. But they both have a 10 o'clock noise ordinance. So that's been in place for years and years and years.
Right.
The issue becomes COVID. COVID hits us, and now venues start popping up that are outside. And brides and grooms stop going to hotels and wedding venues, and they start going to their parents' house, their cousin's house. So, I think it was 2022 was like one of the best years I've ever had. I think I did like 93 weddings. I did 2 weddings inside a building. Every other wedding was outside. They were all outside. There was no inside weddings.
Wow.
So you're shutting down at 10 o'clock.
At 10 o'clock's a hard ending. Hard ending. And people in my town, because we have these casinos, they've just become accustomed to the wedding ends at 10, then we're all going to the casino or we're all going to wherever.
Right.
And I've noticed over time, and I don't know, it didn't get brought up, but as a side topic, I've had 2 250, 3 350 biggest wedding I've ever DJ'd was 500 people. I haven't done north of 250 people in probably 7 years.
Yeah,
Like,
they've gotten smaller.
It's slowly gotten much smaller.
Yeah.
The biggest wedding I've had in the last 3 years is 150. So,
right.
you know, they don't look at you like they did 10 years ago and go, hey, man, we have the venue till 1. Because my line was always, okay, what time are you coming up into the room? 5 o'clock. Okay, if you'd like, I'd be happy to give you an 8-hour contract. Here's the price. But I'll be honest, let's look at 5 hours with extension. What do you mean? Well, you're getting up early, you're doing this, you're doing that. Let's say I contract 5 to 10. Well, at 9:30, we know how things are going. And if you want to go till 10:30 or 11, we can. That's not a problem. And if you want to go till 12, if you want to go, I did a wedding last year in a hotel where they booked out the entire hotel. The wedding ended at 10, and they ended up getting an okay from the hotel because they had every single room. It was like one of those 30-room hotels, the small ones.
Sure.
And the hotel let them go till 1 a.m. Mm-hmm. And they had me go for I don't know how in hindsight, I ended up playing dance music from 9 till, or 8:30 till 1 in the morning.
Okay.
So it was a long time. But there was also 40 people. And they were all family and friends. So it was more of a house party.
That's not typical for you, though. Typical
for me is from June 1st to June 9th, I have 7 events.
Wow.
I have 2 weddings, a bar mitzvah, a quinceanera, a high school graduation party, and a high school graduation sound. Wow. The 2 weddings both have 4 o'clock ceremonies, end at 10.
Okay.
That's 90% of my contracts are now 4 o'clock, end at 10 p.m.
Break that one down for me. That's the time frame I'm interested in from you.
Yeah.
Because that's the typical time frame.
Ceremony.
So ceremony starts at
same venue.
Like 4:30 or whatever it is.
Well, ceremony for me starts at 3:30. I start half an hour pre with prelude.
Okay.
So musically, my contracts read 3:30 to 10. So it reads as 6.5 hours. I start playing music at 3:30, get the guests seated, play the processionals, get through the ceremony, immediately go into cocktail, wind our way into grand entrance.
Right. What time are they eating?
So the majority of them seem to eat between 5:45 and 6:15.
Okay.
Because if they don't,
you give an hour for that typically.
Most of them are buffet, and it used to be the kind of buffet that they'd go through once and be done.
Right.
But now people are getting we're tacos or pizza.
Yeah, the food stations.
So
we're open until 9 o'clock.
Well, and that's the thing is I've said to them, how many people? 125. Okay, let's plan on an hour and 10 minutes for them to all go through once, maybe some of them twice. Mm-hmm. And then we'll do the toast, followed by father, daughter, mother, son, open dance, and, do the cake if you want to stop or not.
Sure.
So if they start at 6, go till 7, we have 3 hours left. I can get everything done by 7:30, and they're clean for 2.5 hours. So I'm not doing 4-hour dance parties.
Right.
And
I'm not always doing them either. I was just thinking back to when we were talking about different, styles of mixing and different songs. And it occurred to me that the reason that maybe I'm doing more filler than you is because I've got more time to fill.
Right. I mean, I can't really make that many mistakes anymore. So I get very conscious of.
Right. You got to play the right songs. You don't have a lot of time.
Do I start up here? But do I channel up? What do I do? Where do I want to go? Because and I mean, I've had a few weddings this year where they've taken too long. Mm-hmm. 3 weddings, instead of taking an hour cocktail, they took an hour and 40. Well, guess what? That's 40 off the top because it ended. So I've had to learn how to quick mix at those weddings because I want them to leave going, man, we
didn't hear our song,
but we only heard like 9 songs.
When I think about 2.5 hours, that's probably average for a school dance, between 2 and 3 hours.
Right.
And sometimes when I'm doing a school dance, which I try not to do, but when I do them, I'm thinking to myself, do I have 2 hours worth of music they want to hear?
Yeah.
And that the school will allow me to play.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I haven't done a prom in a minute, but I talked to a couple of prom guys and like, oh, I got this prom coming up. I'm like, I don't know if I'm really a great fit. You know, the new stuff. I mean, I've got this, I got that, but no. They want the older stuff. Because the last time I did a prom was probably like 8-9 years ago. Yeah. And I played mostly older music. It's like father-daughter dances for elementary school. You're playing Journey more than you're playing Billie Eilish.
Yeah.
Because you want the dads to be involved.
The classics, fun things.
The dads to get excited. Now the little kids are like thrilled. But it's funny. They're like, oh no, the way the proms work now, at least out here, I guess, it's like an hour and a half of dancing and then it's done.
That's probably pretty safe.
Because they go somewhere else for dinner. Then they show up at the school. They have a couple of things they do, the king and the queen. And then you just beat them over the head for like an hour and a half, and then 10:30 they're out.
That sounds wonderful. I would
sign up for those. I'd be thrilled with that. I was like, I didn't know that. Makes sense. Sign me up. But I get flack from people, and I totally understand it. And we all do it a little bit differently. It's like I wish I could have. I would say 96% of my weddings are buffet.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have the time during dinner. Like when I have a sit down plated service, I'll say, you know, what's important? Because if this is important between salads and main course, let's do the toasts or let's do the father-daughter. Then between this and this, let's do this. Let's maximize our time. Because, you know, you guys are all professionals. You understand this. When you're sitting with two people that are excited about their wedding and they're going to party all night, the reality is they're going to talk to people all night. You know, I say to them, like, how often do you go to a club to go dancing? Never. Do you go to bars to see bands and go dancing? No. But yet you think this one day in your life is going to be the day you put on your Michael Jackson shoes and just lose it? Like, I'm just being honest. If you're bringing everyone in from out of town, you kind of owe it to them to hang out with them.
Yeah. No, and you're right.
You're out
you know,
smoking and hanging out. Your dance floor is dead.
I've never tried to give you a hard time about your 2.5 hour average dance time. I've just recognized it. And when I recognized it, I understood how you and I could have some differences of opinion on programming.
Right.
Of course, you're going to want to squeeze some more songs in than I'm going to. I don't want to cut a song short because I need to run this time out.
Right, and nor do I.
The clock out. It's different. Where you got to get this stuff in there. So it's different.
I sat down with a club DJ who's been in Vegas. He's from Canada. Shout out CB Shaw. Amazing guy.
Oh, yeah, good guy. I haven't seen him in years.
I saw him in February.
Nice.
And we were talking about quick mixes. And he will spend an hour a day, if needed, in his Serato going through new tracks. And I'm like, well, what are you doing in an hour? He's like, oh, now in a club in Vegas in an hour, I'm probably dropping 53 to 60 songs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what?
Yeah. Wow.
That's so fun for me. And he spent about 2 minutes and set up a thing with Flip in Serato and did this and this and this. And he's like, do this, do this, do this. And I'm like, whoa. And he's like, well, what are you doing? I'm like, dude, if I put on Usher Yeah and the dance floor packs,
I'm leaving it on until they
4 minutes and 12 seconds, like there's no tomorrow. Because it's like only lately have I started to go, oh, there's a break right here at about the minute 50 section where I could get out.
Yeah.
Or I have to stay. You know, there are tracks I wish there was a little break. There's a lot of old school hip hop where there's just nothing. It's like vocal from 12 seconds to the end. But then there's a lot of other tracks. You know, Bust a Move's a great example. There's a great opening in the middle of it where you're like, yep, bass, I'm out, June. And even I'm starting to try to get out of tracks a little faster because the audience doesn't have the attention span they used to have.
Yeah.
They just... they have this music. It used to be exciting to go to a wedding and be like, oh, I haven't heard this in forever. It's like, what do you mean? You're in your car on Spotify. you could hear it in 10 minutes. You get in. I mean, how many of you guys get in the car? I've been driving, whipped out my phone, gone to Tidal, and been like, "Man, I'm in the worst mood to hear that Winger second album."
Good
Bang,
old
bang, bang,
Segway Jay.
go.
He's taking us. He's taking us into the Tuesday night music show. Totally on topic. Perfect.
But no, it's a funny thing. Sometimes the less the event, the more you're concerned.
Yeah, you got to get a lot in.
Events, and it's like, and I'm going to say this. We were talking earlier about a video about something. Side note, the video we're talking about, I'm just looking on the screen right now, and it says "My Products." Oh, Record Box. Oh, that's the Pioneer DJ thing. Okay, so anyway,
And on that note,
but here's the thing, real quick. I will get the calls for the 8-9 hour weddings. Like, yeah, we're getting married at 3 and it's going till midnight. And I'm like, where are you guys from? Ireland, Scotland, England. I'm like, oh, okay, no problems.
I was really hoping to have John here, and maybe it would be great to have somebody like Alex here because his stuff is crazy.
This is totally crazy.
I want to do a dedicated show on him because
no, we should. Alex is going, but that's the thing, and I'm sure you found it too. European weddings go so much longer. It's like the toasts; they're like an hour and a half of the night.
You know, I was best man at a wedding in Germany.
No, I didn't know that.
I was. Yeah, my friend who got married in Germany, in Bremen, I flew there. I had to actually go on.
Was this Voss?
Yeah, I was best man at his wedding. I had to go on some legal document to say that I was part German or something. It was goofy. There was an attorney there in the whole bit.
Oh, no way.
But yeah, it was. That's the law they have there. So you have to be a German citizen to do it. So they kind of sponsored me to be German.
Wow.
So, yeah. So I guess I can go live in Germany now if I want to. But
I tell you my German knock knock joke.
No, but this wedding started, the ceremony started probably about 2. And
probably went till like
we stopped dancing at about 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
And they said we're ending early.
But here's the secret, everyone. This is the American way. Shot, beer, pass out.
Yep.
Over there, it's like shot, food, dance, repeat. Like they had this Irish wedding I did. It was 9 hours long. They had appetizers for cocktail. They had dinner. About an hour and a half after dinner, they had sandwiches. And about an hour and a half after that, they had pizza. So there was constantly food.
Yeah, it's kind of like that here. You have that too, buddy, don't you?
We don't, we're just now starting to get back into the late night.
I call it beer pizza. It usually comes out around 10 o'clock.
Oh no, that's 1 out of 20 weddings of mine will have late night food.
Yeah, it's a very normal thing.
I did a wedding a couple months ago in March. It was the younger sister of a bride I did 5 years ago. And at the end of her wedding at 10 o'clock, I got on the mic and said, folks, round of applause, bride and groom, blah, 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 blah. At this time, I'd like to ask everyone to please follow the bride and groom outside for a special surprise. And the 180 people all filed outside at this very swanky Newport Beach venue, super high end. And outside was an In-N-Out burger truck waiting for them for a late night burger.
Nice.
So it worked out really well.
Yeah, well, I've had hot dog trucks, and I've had taco trucks, street taco trucks for late night. So it's like, they pull up a truck doing hot dogs and Italian beefs and then all of a sudden you'll have someone doing street tacos, and it's like it's a big popular thing, especially here when they're going to 11 o'clock or midnight. They want to have that late night snack, and it's kind of the way that stuff works. It's kind of funny,
don't catch it, but they'll arrest you, and they'll deport you to Wisconsin or something.
If you've got 3 hours past dinner and you're still dancing, I think it's advisable to have something. And like I said, I've only had a couple this year that one had quesadillas, whatever. The other one had French fries and pretzels.
You're making me hungry now.
Oh, that's not too bad. Make food that's going to soak up the booze they've been drinking all night.
Right. Mm-hmm. That's the point of the beer pizza.
Real quick, the knock knock joke. Knock knock.
Who's there?